Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Group 2 Baroque, Rococo, Neoclassicism. Baroque, Rococo, Neoclassicism. Banat.
In the early 16th century, Europe was shaken by the Protestant Reformation. Reformers challenged the Catholic Church, denouncing its wealth, its tradition, and even the use of images in worship. But the Catholic Church did not remain silent. It responded with the Counter Reformation, a sweeping effort to reaffirm its authority and rekindle the faith of its followers. Churches glowed with light and shadow, altars shimmered with gold and color. Paintings and sculpture pulled viewers into sacred stories, making them participants in the drama of salvation. Here in my local parish, we see hints of the Baroque qualities: the dramatic lighting, ornate architectural details, and the stained glass depictions of Saint Therese. These features were not designed only to decorate, but also inspire awe, emotion, and faith. The word Baroque itself comes from the Portuguese word barroco, meaning an irregular pearl. Comparing it to the Renaissance, which emphasized balance, order, and harmony, which can be compared to a perfect pearl, the Baroque art was known for its drama, movement, emotion, and especially its bold contrast of light and shadow. It was also deeply tied, like I've said before, to the Catholic Church during the Counter Reformation against the Protestants, when art was meant to move faithful, making them feel a part of the sacred story rather than distant observers. Let us begin with our first artist, who also happened to be the pioneer of this art era. Michelangelo Mercissi da Caravaggio, or most commonly known as Caravaggio, was born in 1571 in Milan, Italy. He lived a very turbulent life, marked by violence and controversy, but his revolutionary approach to painting reshaped European art. Caravaggio is most famous for his chiaroscuro, the dramatic use of light and shadow that made his work feel immediate and lifelike. Judith beheading Holofernes, painted in the year 1599, that is now located in the Galleria Nazionale d'Arte Antica in Rome, he captures the biblical heroine Judith in the shocking moment she slays the Assyrian general Holofernes. Unlike earlier depictions that soften the act, Caravaggio confronts us with raw violence as Judith leans forward, steady yet uneasy, while her maid holds a bag ready. The light slices through the dark background, spotlighting the struggle and amplifying the horror. This is Caravaggio at his boldest, showing not idealized beauty but brutal reality. Notice Holofernes' face twisted in shock and pain as the scene unfolds right before our eyes. It's not just a story, it's an emotional assault designed to make the viewers feel terror, courage, and divine justice all at once. In the Taking of Christ, painted in the year 1602, that is now located in the National Gallery of Ireland in Dublin, here, Caravaggio portrays the exact moment Jesus is betrayed by Judas. The lantern light cuts through the darkness, falling on Christ's calm face pressed against Judas's kiss. What is striking is Christ's serenity, his hands crossed, already accepting his faith, contrasting that with the violence surrounding him. Caravaggio even inserts himself into the painting, holding the lantern as though reminding us that he is both witness and storyteller.
Caravaggio's art placed viewers inside the story itself, making sacred scenes painfully real. His style inspired countless others, among them Peter Paul Rubens. Peter Paul Rubens was born in 1577 in Siegen, Germany, but spent most of his career in Antwerp, in the Spanish Netherlands, today's Belgium. Unlike Caravaggio, Rubens lived a respected life as both an artist and as a diplomat. Rubens was known for his dynamic compositions, rich colors, and dramatic movement. He often painted large-scale works full of energy, emphasizing vitality and grandeur. In The Massacre of the Innocents, 1611 to 1612, Rubens captures the biblical slaughter of children with dramatic intensity. The twisting bodies, angry faces, and violent movement reflect the height of Baroque emotion. In The Descent from the Cross, Rubens portrays Christ's lifeless body being lowered, with figures straining under his weight. Here, the drama is balanced with devotion, showing Rubens' ability to combine theatricality with spirituality. While Caravaggio brought darkness and realism, Rubens expanded Baroque with energy, grandeur, and sweeping motion. His works influenced artists across Europe, including those in the Dutch Republic where Rembrandt would rise. Rembrandt Harmenzoon van Rijn was born in 1606 in Leiden in the Dutch Republic. Unlike Rubens, who tried in religious commissions, Rembrandt lived in a Protestant country where religious imagery was less common. Instead, he focused on portraits, history scenes, and the human soul itself. Rembrandt is known as a master of light, not only for his use of shadow and illumination, but for the way he revealed inner emotion through paint. In The Night Watch, 1642, one of his most famous works, Rembrandt takes a group portrait of a militia and turns it into a dramatic scene of movement and action. Figures emerge from darkness as if stepping onto a stage, breaking away from static, traditional portraiture. In Bathsheba, at her bath, 1654, Rembrandt shows a quieter, more personal side of Baroque. Bathsheba, caught in a moment of contemplation, reflects vulnerability and emotion rather than theatrical drama. Rembrandt proved that Baroque was not only about spectacle, it was also about exploring human depth. And while his style remained uniquely Dutch, his dramatic use of light and realism carried Caravaggio's legacy forward. Across Europe, another great artist was making his mark, Diego Velázquez.
Diego Velázquez was born in 1599 in Seville, Spain. He rose to prominence as the court painter of King Philip IV, creating some of the most innovative and complex work of the Baroque era. Velázquez was known for his naturalism and his ability to blend reality with illusions. His work often challenged the role of the viewer, inviting us into the scene. In one of his most famous paintings, The Las Meninas, painted in the year 1656, that is now located in the Museo del Prado in Madrid, the young Infanta Margarita stands at the center, surrounded by her attendants, while Velázquez includes himself at the easel. A mirror in the background reflects the king and the queen, making the viewer question who is the real subject of the painting. This complexified show Velázquez's mastery of the illusion and reality. This masterpiece is much more about the act of painting as it is about its subjects. Lastly, in the portrait of the Pope Innocent X, painted in the year 1650, that is now located in the Galleria Doria Pamphili in Rome, Velázquez captures the Pope not as an idealized figure, but as a man of piercing intensity. The Pope himself is said to have remarked it as too true upon seeing the painting.
The Baroque era transformed art from calm balance into drama, emotion, and light. Caravaggio shocked audiences with raw realism. Rubens energized them with grandeur. Rembrandt revealed the human soul through light and shadow. Velázquez blurred the line between reality and illusion. Together, these artists defined a century of creativity that made art not just something to look at, but something to experience. As history moved forward, tastes began to change. The intensity of the Baroque eventually gave way to the lighter, playful, and decorative style of the Rococo in the 18th century. So the question remains, what do these shifts in style tell us about society today? If Baroque was about faith, drama, and power, and Rococo was about elegance, leisure, and ornament, what does our own era of art say about us today?
Rococo art style. Now let's get into its introduction. Rococo emerged in France around 1720, during the reign of King Louis XV. It developed as a lighter, more decorative alternative to the grandeur of Baroque art. The name comes from rocaille, meaning pebble or shell. It quickly spread across Europe, especially to Germany, Austria, and Italy. The characteristics of Rococo art style. It focuses on lightness, elegance, and asymmetry rather than strict balance. It uses soft pastel colors like pink, light blue, cream, and gold. It often shows romance, leisure, playfulness, and daily pleasures of the elite. It features delicate curves, shell motifs, and floral pattern in design. Now I will introduce you to some famous Rococo artists. I'll try my best to pronounce their name correctly po in French. The first person is Jean-Antoine Watteau. He pioneered Rococo with his Fête Galante. Fête Galante means outdoor gatherings. The second person is Francois Boucher, and yes, Francois is the correct pronunciation of his name, known for his mythological and his sensual paintings. The third person is John Honor Fragonard. He painted the swing, symbolizing romance and frivolity. And lastly, Miss Elizabeth Vigil Lebrun. She painted elegant portraits, especially of Marie Antoinette. Rococo architectures and designs. Palaces and salons decorated with mirrors, stucco, gold, and ornate details. Furniture was light, elegant, and often curved with floral carvings, and their architectural interiors emphasized comfort, intimacy, and decorative luxury. Rococo sculptures and decorative arts. Rococo sculptures were graceful, featuring mythological and playful figures. Rococo decorative arts includes porcelains, tapestries, and intricate furnitures. The Rococo artists created objects that reflected elegance and aristocratic taste. Conclusion of the Rococo art style. The Rococo art style was a time of beauty, playfulness, and elegance in the 18th century. It showed the love of the French aristocracy for romance, luxury, and pleasure. Though short-lived, it remains one of the most ornamental and charming styles in history. It remains important because it reflected the life and values of its time.
Neoclassicism began in the 1760s and lasted about a century. It was a return to the styles and values of ancient Greece and Rome. But opposite to Baroque and Rococo, it focused on balance, clarity, and morality. Neoclassical works often showed stories from history and mythology to teach lessons about virtue, duty, and reason. This movement strongly influenced both painting and sculpture in Europe. So let's start with Antonio Canova. Antonio Canova was born in 1757 in Posagno, Italy, and died in 1822 in Venice. He became the most famous sculptor of his time. Canova studied ancient art and Renaissance masters, creating works admired by popes and rulers across Europe. He was known for giving marble a lifelike quality, and his sculptures reflect the neoclassical ideals of clarity, harmony, and classical influence. Now let's take a look at one of his earliest works, The Wrestlers. This sculpture was made when Canova was only 18 as an entry in academy competition. It was inspired by Roman copies of Greek statues. The subject shows two men in the middle of a wrestling match, their bodies twisted and locked in motion. This work tested Canova's ability to show anatomy, balance, and tension. Wrestling was a common practice subject because of the difficulty of capturing complex poses. The piece shows Canova's early mastery of movement and form, and it reflects the neoclassical return to classical Greek themes. Next is Canova's most famous work is Psyche revived by Cupid's Kiss. This sculpture is based on Apelles the Golden Ass. It shows the myth where Psyche in a deep sleep is revived by Cupid's kiss. The explanation of this sculpture is Canova chose the tender moment of awakening. Psyche leans backward as Cupid holds her gently. The spiral composition encourages viewers to walk around the sculpture to see the embrace from different angles. The works demonstrates Canova's ability to combine mythological storytelling with emotion. Now let's move on to Jacques Louis David, the leading painter of Neoclassicism. He was born on August 30, 1748 in Paris and died on December 29, 1825 in Brussels. He studied at the Royal Academy and won the Prix de Rome, which allowed him to study classical art in Italy. David became the most influential painter of his era. His works are known for their precise lines, moral themes, and classical subjects. He was deeply involved in politics, supporting the French Revolution and later serving as Napoleon's official painter. His most famous revolutionary painting is The Death of Marat. This painting shows Jean-Paul Marat, a journalist and revolutionary leader, after being murdered in his bath by Charlotte Corday. David portrays Marat as martyr. The plain background and few objects focus attention on Marat's lifeless body. His position with his arm hanging down recalls religious imagery of Christ and saints, giving him dignity and moral importance. David also created one of the most iconic images of Napoleon, Napoleon crossing the Alps. This painting shows Napoleon leading his troops, riding a rearing horse, and pointing forward. On the rocks are carved the names Hannibal, Charlemagne, and Bonaparte, connecting him to other great leaders. In reality, Napoleon crossed the Alps on a mule, but David's version served as a propaganda. It glorified Napoleon and shaped his public image for generations.
For our next artist, we have Angelica Kaufmann. She was born on October 30, 1741, in Chur, Switzerland. She was a pioneering female painter of the 18th century. She was also one of the founding members of the Royal Academy in London and among the most successful women artists of her time. She was known for her paintings of history, portraits, and allegories that blended neoclassical ideals with grace and sensitivity. Her works often emphasize themes of virtue, morality, and a woman's intellectual capacity. An example of one of Angelica Kaufmann's creations is Cornelia presenting her children as her treasures, created in 1785. This painting shows Cornelia, a Roman matron, modestly presenting her children as her true jewels, contrasting to a visiting woman displaying her luxurious ornaments. This promotes virtue, motherhood, and moral strength over material wealth. This painting is now located in the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts in Richmond, USA. Another example of Angelica Kaufmann's creations is Zeuxis selecting models for his painting of Helen of Troy, created in 1780 to 1782. This painting depicts the ancient Greek painter Zeuxis choosing ideal features from several women to create his image of Helen of Troy. In this painting, Kaufman uses this subject to highlight artistic ideals of beauty and perfection, blending classical myth with Enlightenment thought. The location of this painting is now at the National Museum in Stockholm, Sweden. For our second artist, we have John Auguste Dominique Onguer, born on August 29, 1780, in Montauban, France. He was a leading French neoclassical painter that carried forward the legacy of Jacques Louis David while also infusing his own style of painting. He was known for his mastery of line, portraits, and history paintings. He was also the director of the French Academy in Rome. An example of Onguer's paintings is the Grand Obelisk, created in 1814. This painting was commissioned by Napoleon's sister, Queen Caroline Murat of Napoli. This painting portrays as a reclining nude concubine in a harem. While rooted in the classical reclining nude tradition, Onguer elongated the figure's proportions, most notably the back, to enhance elegance and sensuality. This painting reflects both neoclassical precision in line and romantic fascination with exoticism.
Again, this was Group 2, Baroque, Rococo, Neoclassicism, Baroque, Rococo, Neoclassicism. Thank you.